All right, we are live in beautiful, sunny Florida. And today, fight fans, we're going to be breaking down UFC 222 Cyborg versus Kunitskaya in Las Vegas, Nevada. Sucks that we lost out on the original main event, which was Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar. I thought that was a fantastic title fight. Man, we got suited with a nice little, co-main event to make up for it. Frankie Edgar versus Brian Ortega is, that's probably like one of the top 3-4 fights of the year so far. Definitely the people's main event over that main event. Yana Kunitskaya getting the title shot against Chris Cyborg here. Probably, we'll talk about that fight at the end, but probably Cyborg's easiest test here in the UFC so far. Yana's not bad when it comes to even women's bantamweight standards. Like, she's probably a top 20, 25 chick, but we'll see how she does at featherweight against Chris Cyborg. I don't think it's going to go well for her at all, but man, that co-main event, obviously that's what everyone's talking about. That's an amazing fight. Definitely have some strong opinions there. I do have 3 plays on this card. I do think this card is good. I don't think it's very worthy of pay-per-view standards, but man, good night of martial arts we got in front of us. So last week, UFC Orlando, I had a great time, man. We had awesome seats. Went with my dad, girlfriend, friends. It was a blast, man. The fights were awesome, all that good stuff. Literally, the only downfall of the weekend, I'm sure you guys know, did lose 10 units on old Mike Platinum Perry. I trusted the wrong guy with the big play, and didn't come through for me, man. But you live, you learn, and if you saw what I put on Twitter, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm here to get back on track, man. And I'm definitely going to be doing that this weekend because I have 3 very solid plays, and I know it seems like I'm a broken record at this point, but guys, I made a decision and I'm going all in on this. I plan on stepping up the amount of tape and just overall work I put into this. I want to put a lot more thought into who I put money on and how much. And, I think things are going to fall into place for me here, starting for UFC 222. And of course, going to be breaking down the whole 12 fight card. And if you didn't see the highlight of my weekend, I saw smiling Sam Alvey at Disney the next day. And I could not say, coolest guy I've ever met. This guy, he wanted to talk to us, like, more than we wanted to talk to him. He was like so happy we came up to him and was just so grateful, and he wanted to talk to us, and he wanted to talk to us about Disney, and it was cool, man. Sam Alvey is the man, and definitely congratulations to him. Shout out to Sam Alvey. He's awesome. Definitely has a place in my heart these days now. So gonna be breaking down this whole 12 fight card now. So let's start from the bottom here, man. We got a weird card. There's some weird fights on this card, but I like it. I'm really interested to see what happens here, man. So first fight of the night, we got a couple of 205 pounders. We have Jordan Big Swinging Johnson, one of my favorite nicknames in MMA, minus 320, taking on Adam Milstead plus 260. I get it. I get why Jordan Johnson's a minus 320. Adam Milstead, his last fight, which was about a year ago at this point, he got torched by Curtis Blades. But we're talking about a top 6, top 5 heavyweight at this point. Adam Milstead dropping down to 205 pounds here. Worried about the injuries he sustained in that fight, but I'm not saying Jordan Johnson has the wrestling of Curtis Blades, because he absolutely doesn't. But if there's a weakness in Adam Milstead's game, it's going to be the grappling, and that's probably what's going to do it for Jordan Johnson here. He's probably going to grapple his way to a victory. Now, I can see a situation where maybe Jordan Johnson wants to prove himself on the feet, and he tries to swing with this guy. And don't get me wrong by any means, Adam Milstead is sloppy on the feet for sure, but he can put dudes out. He's got some pop in his punches, and if Jordan Johnson were to go in there and try to brawl with this dude, I might even favor him there too. But if it were to be that kind of fight, I could see Adam Milstead landing a shot and putting this dude away, honestly, man. But I think if Jordan Johnson plays this fight smart, if he comes in with the right game plan and we see the best Jordan Johnson possible, he's not going to lose this fight. So definitely understand the line here. I don't think you should parlay Jordan Johnson at minus 320. I'm pretty sure he was a lot better than that at one point. Yeah, he opened up 275 and he got all the way down to minus 225. So if you came in and sniped that minus 225, I don't hate that at all. Jordan Johnson's going to be my pick, and I say he probably gets it done by 30-27 decision. If you guys can hear my laptop making that insane noise right now, I don't know what to do about that. It's bad. I need a new laptop for sure. But so yeah, Jordan Johnson's going to be the pick. Obviously, no bet at that price, and I'm going to be playing a little bit of him in DK, but I'm going to be playing a little bit of Adam Milstead in DK as well. So moving on to the next fight, man, we got Cody Stamann minus 165 taking on Brian Caraway plus 145. Cody Stamann's probably one of my favorite prospects in MMA right now, but I just couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger on him here, even at such a good line. I know I think he opened what, minus 120? If you came in and sniped that line on Cody Stamann minus 120, props to you. That's a great line. I think it's probably right where it is right now. Yeah, he's the younger guy. He's the better wrestler. But Brian Caraway's a tricky veteran. He has some good wins on his record. He's outstruck some good strikers, like an Eddie Wineland, for instance. I feel like if this fight, the part of this fight that's going to take place on the feet, I actually favor Brian Caraway in the striking. I think he's kind of got an awkward style, and he's good at making the fight his on the feet. So I could see him pulling out some savvy veteran tricks on the feet and outstriking him there. But I mean, we're probably looking at a situation where Cody Stamann's going to want to use that great wrestling he has and take down Brian Caraway. But the thing is, you got to be tricky. I mean, you got to be careful with Brian Caraway on the ground as well, because Caraway's tricky there too, man. I mean, I feel like Brian Caraway could maybe reverse some positions and get on top and hold some dominating positions of his own. I feel like I don't think you should be counting the vet out here, man. This is a tough fight. So, gun to my head, if I had to make a pick, it's gonna be the young buck. I'm gonna go with Cody Stamann. I'm gonna say 29-28 split decision. I feel like he'll win this fight, but Brian Caraway is gonna have moments of his own because he's been a top 10 guy in the bantamweight division for years now for a reason. So I'm gonna go with Cody Stamann via very close 29-28 split decision. Pass from a betting perspective. When it comes to DraftKings, I say take the dog money on Caraway and throw him in some lineups and save some money, man. I don't hate that at all. So I'll be playing a little bit of Brian Caraway. Probably won't have much of Stamann just because I don't know how many points he'll be able to score as a favorite. So I say when it comes to DK, dog or pass. So moving on to the next fight here, man. This is one of the weird fights I was talking about. We got Zach Otto minus 300. Not many times you're going to see a minus 300 next to Zach Otto's name. And he's taking on Mike Pyle plus 250. Man, what can I say about this fight? Definitely, I mean, we shouldn't be seeing this at the highest level organization, that's for sure. Zach Otto is not good, man. And the craziest thing about Zach Otto is how absolutely built the guy is. I mean, this guy is jacked, but he possesses pillow fist, if we're being honest. I mean, if we're looking about this guy, I mean, usually guys with that kind of body frame, they pack so much punches and they're knocking guys out. Look at Zach Otto. He has 1, 2, 3 KO/TKO wins out of his 15 wins. So definitely a low percentage there, man. And if we're being honest, if there's a way to beat Mike Pyle at this point, it's to touch the chin and knock him out. I think Mike Pyle has taken a little bit too much punishment in his career, and his shot taking ability is definitely it's gone, if we're being honest. But the thing is, we've seen Zach Otto in there with these guys who are not very good or falling off a cliff like Mike Pyle is. Zach Otto, he came in against Josh Berkman, barely scraped a split decision victory there. Props to him. He was a plus 220 underdog, but I mean, we've seen how Josh Berkman is performing these days and barely making it out, not even making it out of the first round against mid-tier guys like Alex Morono. And so the fact that Zach Otto kind of didn't really perform up to very good par against a Josh Berkman. He He had a close fight with Sergio Moraes. It's funny, all three of Zach Otto's first fights went to split decision. He won 2 of them against Josh Berkman and Kichi Kunimoto. So, I mean, Kunimoto and Berkman, that's not saying much. Close fight with Sergio Moraes, though. That was probably his best performance. I mean, easily his best performance in the UFC was actually a loss. And then in his last fight, he got absolutely starched by Li Jingliang, who, I mean, Li Jingliang, if we're being honest, he kind of got exposed by Jake Matthews there. So I'm not impressed with Otto. That being said, man, he's favored for a reason here. Mike Pyle is, he's taken a long time off since that last knockout, which is absolutely brutal, by the way. And so I guess I get it, but I mean, I know this is his retirement fight, so that gives a lot of confidence to Zach Otto. His betters in this case. If you're betting Zach Otto, you like to hear that Mike Pyle is going to be retiring after this fight, but he retired after the Alex Garcia fight, so I don't really see much of a difference. This is a guy who has retirement on his mind anyway. But if we're really looking at the guys Mike Pyle is getting knocked out by, Alex Garcia, Alberto Mina, Jordan Meehan. We're talking about 3 great strikers there, and 3 great strikers who have a lot of pop in their punches. Matt Brown, another example. These are the guys that are knocking Mike Pyle out. So if Zach Otto were to come out here as a -300 and absolutely drop the ball, swing for the fences, swing in air the first round, just whiff, and he starts breathing heavy and that second round comes around and Mike Pyle's the fresher guy, I would not be surprised at all if he starts to take over and if not finishes Zach Otto, win a decision. So, man, I would stay away from Zach Otto in this case. That's just my opinion. He could go out there and knock out Mike Pyle with the first punch he lands 30 seconds in. I wouldn't be surprised at that either, but do not trust a guy of Zach Otto's caliber at -300, man. That's just my opinion. Definitely not, especially against a guy who's a superior martial artist. Mike Pyle, for all the punishment he's taken and how his shot-taking ability is gone, he's the better martial artist than Zach Otto by a mile, and that's just a fact, if anything. So I'm going to go with Zach Otto via a first-round KO, but I would definitely stay away from it, man. When it comes to DraftKings, though, I think this is a really good fight to play both guys, and I think having a good amount of Otto is good because if he wins, it's probably going to be by a first-round knockout, and if Mike Pyle wins, he's probably going to be scoring a lot of points too. I definitely don't see this fight going to decision. I think if Otto doesn't get that initial first-round knockout, I think he'll tire out, and I think Mike Pyle can take over and get a knockout of his own. I mean, we've seen Mike Pyle. I mean, looking at his record, he has a lot of third-round knockouts. So if Zach Otto were to whiff on punches and get tired, I could see Pyle finishing him. Doesn't go to decisions, -245. So it's a little steep, but I don't think it's bad at all. So I'm going to go with Zach Otto via first-round KO, though no surprise, I'll be picking the -300 favorite here. So moving on to the next fight. This is another weird fight, man. We got Hector Lombard, -135, taking on CB Dollaway, +115. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw I put out a list of fighters on the UFC roster. I put a list on Twitter. It's every single UFC fighter who hasn't won, every UFC fighter who's on the current roster, everyone who has not won a fight in more than 3 years. There's 2 fighters on that list that are fighting this week, and Hector Lombard is one of them. He has not won a fight since I want to say it was the Jake Shield fight. Of course, he won the Josh Bergman fight, but that was overturned. Yeah, Jake Shields was his last victory, and that was such an amazing performance he put on against Jake Shields. But we're looking at a USADA victim. I'm sorry, I'm just calling it like it is. We're looking at a USADA victim in Hector Lombard. Not only a USADA victim, we're looking at an age victim. He's 40 years old now, and he's fighting a big guy here in CB Dollaway. We're talking about a guy who just fought at 205. CB Dollaway has chin problems of his own. He has defense problems of his own, if anything. But I think people that are out there trusting Hector Lombard to give CB Dollaway a nap here, I think you might be a little crazy to have that kind of trust in Hector Lombard. I'm actually going to go with the underdog here in CB Dollaway. I don't want to talk about this fight too much, but I feel like the wrestling here will probably be neutralized. We're probably going to see a striking match, and if Hector Lombard can't knock out the ghost of Johnny Hendricks, I don't see him finishing CB Dollaway here. I think if anything, Johnny Hendricks is a little bit more done. I don't want to say CB Dollaway's done. He just kind of I don't want to shit talk the guy, but he's just is not that good. He's not sound defensively. He gets hit a lot, and that's not good against a guy like Hector Lombard. But man, I feel like this is a good fight for CB Dollaway. I feel like he'll be able to put together punches and outstrike the guy for 3 rounds, just like Johnny Hendricks did not too long ago. I mean, we're talking about the ghost of Johnny Hendricks. So, I mean, that kind of speaks to me how, and it's not even just a USADA thing. It's not even just an age thing with Hector Lombard. I honestly believe that Dan Henderson changed Hector Lombard's life in that fight. I mean, go back and rewatch what he did to the man, because he and it's not even just the Dan Henderson. It was just a combination. The Neil Magny was arguably even worse. The Neil Magny was a prolonged beating for Hector Lombard. Dan Henderson was just a quick little 3-4 shot kill. Give me a sec here. My laptop's fucking up on me. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think Hector Lombard is just such a big mix of things, like all the beatings he took, the USADA, the age. I think it's a lot of things. Hector Lombard, he hasn't won a fight in more than 3 years, so I'm gonna go with CB Dollaway, a guy who actually just won a fight. So I'm gonna go with CB as a dog. I like him a lot in DraftKings. I don't want to bet him for sure. I mean, we're still talking about a guy, like I said, with bad shin, bad defense. So it's a big pass for me, but I'll be playing a good amount of CB Dollaway in DraftKings for sure. So I'm going to go with the underdog, and I say CB gets it done by a unanimous 29-28 decision. So moving on to the next fight here, man. We got John Dodson -175 taking on Pedro Munhoz +155. I broke down this fight before. It sucks that it got canceled, but I'm happy to talk about it again, man, because I love this fight. One of the best on the card, if any. I kind of feel like John Dodson's too fast on the feet for Pedro Munhoz. I feel like he can just bounce around, run around in circles, outstrike the guy over the course of 3 rounds. I mean, Pedro Munhoz, his striking has improved for sure, but I mean, Damian Stasiak had success on the feet against Pedro Munhoz, if we're being honest. And John Dodson, I mean, he's definitely not as quick as he once was, but I definitely think he's quick enough to move around, outstrike Pedro, and I feel like he's smart enough to not dive into a guillotine or, just get himself into any kind of trouble with Pedro Munhoz. Just, you got to fight a smart, trustworthy fight against a guy like Pedro Munhoz. And I feel like a veteran, a smart fighter, and John Dodson will be able to pull that off. So I'm going to say John Dodson wins this fight by I'll say a 29-28 unanimous decision. Pedro, he's got to get in Dodson's face, and he's got to get it to the ground. That's all I got to say. But passing from this fight altogether, even DraftKings, I'm playing a little bit of Pedro as a dog just because the price is good. He's got a decent shot at winning, but just a pass altogether. So moving on to the next fight, man. This is interesting. We got Beneil Dariush -380 taking on Alexander Hernandez +315. So, man, this kid's stepping up on a 10-day, 2-week notice against one of the best fighters in the world in Beneil Dariush. And I feel like this kid, Alexander Hernandez, has potential 100%. The best things I saw from him is the wrestling was really good. He's good with those blast doubles. He's really good at getting the fight down to where he wants it, and that's the grappling. He's really good at the ground, man. I've seen him pull off some really good submissions from what I actually saw from him. Thing is, he's going up against an even better grappler in Beneil Dariush. So not only is this a tough short notice, just kind of Beneil Dariush's levels above the guy. Not only is he levels above the guy, it's bad stylistically, man. His best asset's the grappling. That's Beneil Dariush's best asset is the grappling. And even if the grappling were to cancel each other out, Beneil Dariush is the better striker at this point by far. I mean, we're talking about a guy in Beneil Dariush who was out striking Edson Barboza. So I like Beneil wherever the fight goes. This should definitely be his fight to lose. He's got this one, man. He's minus 380 for a reason. That being said, minus 380, don't want to play that. So passing altogether, I actually think there's some value on him at DraftKings at my 9,200. I was expecting more around 94, 9,500 for Beneil, so I'll be playing some Beneil for sure. I think he's going to be a good favorite to play in DraftKings this weekend. So yeah, gonna go with Beneil Dariush. He probably gets it done he probably finishes this kid. I'll say second round knockout. So moving on to the main event of the prelims here, we have the much anticipated debut of Mackenzie Dern, and she's minus 425, the second biggest favorite on the card behind Cyborg, and she's taking on Ashley Yoder plus 340. Ashley Yoder is your typical slightly below average strawweight. Is this a strawweight fight or a flyweight fight? It's a strawweight fight. Yeah, I haven't really thought about this fight that much just because the line's so crazy, but Mackenzie Dern's having a tough time making strawweight, so maybe that weight cut might make a difference. I say with these untested, debuting women, I mean, we've seen it time after time. We see Irene Aldana came in as a huge favorite and dropped the ball. A lot of these women come in big favorites and then they drop the ball, man. I think it's just the reason behind that is just because it's easier to hype up an up and coming woman fighter because we need big elite women's MMA fighters, and Mackenzie Dern has hype behind her, and I think that's why I think she's getting a little overrated. Obviously, her grappling credentials are through the roof, and she's automatically one of the best grapplers in the women's MMA. It's just has she put it all together as a MMA fighter? I don't know about that, man. Ashley Yoder, she's been around for a while. She has a couple decent wins. I feel like you should for sure not play Mackenzie Dern at minus 425. That's a little disgusting. But then again, I don't know if you should be playing Ashley Yoder even at such a high price. She's probably going to go in there and she's probably going to get subbed in the first round, but it just comes off as a gigantic pass for me, which is why I didn't really look into it that much in the first place. So I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern. I'll say she gets the nice little first round submission, but man, give it one or two more spots and she will be faded for sure. I'm just not seeing it. Yeah, she has great grappling, but when it comes to overall MMA game, I'm just not seeing it. So moving on to the main card here, man. All three of my plays are in this main card, so it's going to be a pretty important one for me. First fight of the main card, we got Ketlen Vieira minus 155 taking on Kat Zingano plus 135. Man, the other fighter I was talking about that's on that list of fighters who haven't won any fights in more than 3 years, Kat Zingano's on that list. She has not won a fight since the Amanda Nunes fight, right? Yeah, it was the Amanda Nunes fight all the way back on the card that Conor McGregor knocked out Dustin Poirier. That was one of my favorite cards. So that'll give you a little time frame of how long ago this was. Conor McGregor knocked out Dustin Poirier that night. Now she does have wins over one current champion and one former champion. She has wins over Amanda Nunes and Miesha Tate, but we're talking years ago. We're talking 4 years ago since then. Kat Zingano, she came back. She fought once since the Amanda Nunes fight, I want to say. It was just the one time against Juliana Pena. I should have my facts straight. Oh, she fought Jesus. She fought Ronda Rousey, of course, and got submitted in 14 seconds. Then she lost to Juliana Pena. And if we're being honest here, man, I think this is a great matchup for Ketlen Vieira because I think she can pull a page out of Juliana Pena's book here and grapple with Kat Zingano. Zingano, hold her down. I feel like she could outstrike Kat Zingano. I don't know, man. I'm just not seeing it's hard to say. I mean, she doesn't fight. Cat Zingano doesn't fight. I mean, I put her on my fade list, and when she gets matched up with Ketlen Vieira, who's absolutely on a roll. If you want another crazy fact, Ketlen Vieira has more UFC wins than Cat Zingano, just to give you an idea of how little Cat Zingano fights. And it's just a gigantic red flag. And these are the kind of opportunities you want to take. Yeah, she has wins over Amanda Nunes and Miesha Tate 4 years ago. 5 years ago was the Miesha Tate fight. But since then, she's lost 2 straight. She's kind of a she's not all there mental in the fight game. You know how they say mentality is probably the most important thing. I think her mentality is a big problem. Don't really want to get into that, but I mean, one example of that is, she was told she was a slow starter, and then with the Ronda Rousey fight, she wanted to be a fast starter, and she made a huge mistake. She ran straight into Ronda Rousey's strength, and she got subbed in 14 seconds. Then she fights Juliana Pena, who, in my opinion, is kind of exposed at this point. Juliana Pena is a little overrated. Just to give you an idea of why I think she's a little overrated, Juliana Pena was really highly regarded at one point just because she picked up wins over Jessica Ai and Cat Zingano. But then she went in there and got submitted in the second round by a flyweight in Valentina Shevchenko. Now, Valentina Shevchenko is one of the best women's mixed martial artists on the planet, but you're getting submitted in the second round by a flyweight, and grappling is supposed to be Juliana Pena's strong suit. So, man, I just think this is another Juliana Pena type matchup. Ketlen Vieira, she's bigger than Juliana Pena. She has better grappling than Juliana Pena. She has better striking than Juliana Pena. So, in my opinion, even though Cat Zingano is coming off a loss and a layoff, she's getting a step up here. I think Ketlen Vieira is extremely talented, and I like the meanness, the toughness. I love she gives a lot in the octagon. She tries, she goes. I love the way the chick fights, and I think she's a horrible comeback matchup for Cat Zingano. If there's any kind of ring rust for Cat Zingano, I don't think she's ever going to get her feet under here against Ketlen Vieira. And even if she's fresh, even if she comes out fighting right away, I still think this is going to be a really tough fight for her. And I could see a situation where maybe she barely edges out the first round like she did against Pena, but the better fighter always comes through in the later rounds. And I wholeheartedly believe that Ketlen Vieira is the better fighter at this point. She's 26 in her prime. Cat Zingano's 35, fights once every 2 years. So that being said, man, I sniped an absolutely beautiful line in Ketlen Vieira. I put 2.5 units on her at plus 100. That line was probably available for all about 5 minutes, and I came in, sniped it up 2.5 units to win 2.5 units. I think Ketlen Vieira gets this done by, I'll say, third round submission. So moving on to the next fight of the night, man, we got Stefan Struve minus 175 now, taking on Andrei Arlovski plus 155. This is crazy, man. So Stefan Struve opened up as a minus 370 favorite. So the line on Stefan Struve has came down about $2 full, man. That's crazy. You don't see that a whole lot, and it really makes me wonder if the odds makers know something here. And don't get me wrong, I definitely favor Stefan Struve in this fight. I think this is a good fight for him. Andrei Arlovski's chin is a problem. We know that. There's a reason a bunch of people went out and bet on the absolute disgrace that is Junior Albini against this guy, because we thought Junior Albini would touch up his chin and knock him out, but Junior Albini is not who we thought he was. He's a jobber, man. Needs to drop down to 205 pounds. So Stefan Struve, I feel like he's never been a guy who's used his reach. Obviously, he's the biggest reach in the UFC. He's the tallest guy in the UFC. He's never really used that, but I mean, we're talking about a full-bodied 265-pound heavyweight at this point. Junior Albini's not a 265-pound heavyweight. He might have been. He's not a real 265-pounder. If you know what I mean. Stefan Struve is a full-bodied 265-pounder, and I think if he touches Andrei Arlovski's chin, and I think there's an extremely good chance of that, he will knock him out. at this point, he's better. At this point, he's more durable. I mean, Stefan Struve, for as long as he's been around, we're still talking about a late 20s, early 30s kids here. So, man, I feel like he's had enough experience in the octagon that what Junior Albini was lacking in that fight ultimately was probably the high level UFC experience. This is a good fight for Stefan Struve, and maybe they did open it up at minus 370 for a reason, so it is getting a little tempting. Laying favorite money down on a guy like Stefan Struve isn't something I really want to do. It's something I'm not really chomping at the bit to do, but it's a good fight for him, and he's going to knock out Andre Arlovski here. So I'm going to go Stefan Struve via a first-round KO. Now, if he were to come out here and look sloppy and get knocked out by Andre Arlovski, I mean, would I be shocked at all? No. So I think it's a good idea to play a little bit of both of these guys in DraftKings. I feel like the odds of this one not going to decision is pretty good. Fight doesn't go to decision, it's minus 265. I think there's probably value in that. But yeah, I'm going to go Stefan Struve first round knockout. No bet, though. Moving on to the next fight, man. We got Andre Soukhamthath minus 135 taking on Sean O'Malley plus 115. I am about to just absolutely ramble about these next two fights. So I'm gonna do all that, and then I'm probably gonna barely talk about the Cyborg fight. But yeah, man, I have some strong thoughts on this one, and I'm just gonna come out and say it. I snagged the opener on Andre Soukhamthath. So if you don't know, actually the fight opened up Andre Soukhamthath plus 180, Sean O'Malley minus 220. I came in and snagged that plus 180 up on Andre Soukhamthath. I put 2.5 units on plus 180 to win 4.5 units. Simple, man. Obviously, I bet against Sean O'Malley last time against Terrion Ware, and that didn't go well for me. Terrion Ware is not who I thought he was. He's he gassed down that third round. Yeah. He won a round. He won the second round on all three judges' scorecards, but it just wasn't enough. Terrion Ware just isn't. I mean, he's a decent striker, but he's just not high level anywhere, and he's just not good, man. He's just not really that well. He's not that great of an athlete. It was kind of a bad bet. I'm just looking to fade Sean O'Malley, and I'm going to keep it going here, man. I mean, fade the hype. Sean O'Malley is complete hype. If he would have nowhere near as much hype, nobody would talk about this guy. He wouldn't be on the main card. If he didn't smoke a blunt with Snoop Dogg on the show. If he didn't have the personality and look, if he did, if it weren't for those three things, the personality, the look, and the fact that he smoked a blunt with Snoop Dogg after the fight on the Contender Series, he wouldn't have the hype he does. And yeah, he's a good fighter. He's not trash by any means, but Andre Soukhamthath is levels above on the feet, man. I mean, we're talking about a slick striker, a guy who just knocked out Luke Sanders. And I know a lot of people will say some things about Luke Sanders, but Luke Sanders is a good fighter, man. He's a great fighter. So the fact that he's going out knocking Luke Sanders out, I mean, that means a lot. I mean, he got his confidence back, man. I think there might have been a little bit of a confidence issue with Andre Soukhamthath at one point. He didn't have the confidence and momentum, and he wasn't throwing a lot in the cage. And you know that could be the big problem here is if he doesn't throw enough against Sean O'Malley, he's going to get 30-27 out-volumed here. That's a possibility for sure, but I feel like the confidence and the momentum is a big deal here, and I think he knows that he's sharper than Sean O'Malley, and I think he knows that he has to, he's got to give it his all here, man, and I trust him to do it, and I feel like Sean O'Malley probably will be the guy who throws more in this fight for sure. But Andre Soukhamthath is going to be the guy who's landing a lot more in this fight, the guy who's going to be landing the hard counters, and the guy who will eventually hit a beautiful counter shot and knock this kid out. So I think Andre Soukhamthath lights Sean O'Malley up with counters all day long here. I feel like he can kick his legs out. And the thing is, Sean O'Malley's ground game isn't really all that tested, man. I mean, he definitely has suspect takedown defense, definitely has suspect ground game. We haven't seen any kind of grappling from Andre Soukhamthath since the regional scene, but I just feel like his veteran savvy. I feel like he could go out there and out wrestle Sean O'Malley. I feel like he can go out there and just just teach the kid a lesson, man. I mean, not only is he better technical wise and further along there, I mean, he just has more cage experience and more high level experience, and I just feel like he can teach the guy a lesson here. This is a good spot for Andre Soukhamthath. Now, the line that it is -135. I don't know if I'd be all jumped up and ready to go out and bet that, but the +180 I took that all day long. I feel like that was extremely disrespectful. So I'm gonna go with Andre Soukhamthath. I feel like he'll get it done via with a second round counter left hook KO. So Andre Soukhamthath for the victory. 2.5 units to win 4.5. So moving on to the co-main event of the evening here, we got Frankie the Answer Edgar -175 taking on Brian T City Ortega +155. I mean, we're talking about the people's main event here, man. This is, like I said, one of the top 3, top 4 best fights of the year so far. But I as good as the fight as it is, I feel like this will be a one-sided fight in favor of Frankie the Answer Edgar. So, man, Brian Ortega, I mean, what can you say about the guy? I mean, obviously he's got some legit grappling. He's got a legit guillotine choke. He's got a legit guard. I mean, he's an amazing grappler. Now, Frankie Edgar, he's an amazing wrestler, and he can neutralize that. Now, when it comes to the feet, I mean, looking back at Brian Ortega's UFC career, who has Brian Ortega outstruck? So looking back at the last fight, he was losing or 2 fights ago, he was losing on the feet to Moicano. Moicano jumped right into the guillotine. Cub Swanson fight, I mean, we're a pretty even fight on the feet. If anything, Cub Swanson might have been getting the better of him, but either way, got submitted in the second round. Cub Swanson definitely didn't jump into that by any means, but Brian Ortega pulled off some shit. I mean, Brian Ortega, man, do not give him an opportunity to get the neck. But we're talking about a guy in Cub Swanson who's been submitted 7, 8 times at this point. Frankie Edgar subbed 0 times in his career. Clay Guida fight, he was getting outstruck by Clay Guida. Landed the big shot in the third round, knocked him out. Props to him. Diego Brandao was giving him quite the ass whooping before Ortega pulled off the third round there. And then Thiago Tavares, that was, I mean, when you go life and death with Thiago Tavares, I don't know what there else is to say. He's definitely improved a lot since then, but man, I just don't, I think this is too much of a step up for Brian Ortega, and I think this is the perfect opportunity for him to take his first loss here. Frankie Edgar's going to neutralize the ground game, and Frankie Edgar, obviously, he has extremely technical, real good, slick boxing, and I feel like he should have no issue at all outboxing this kid, Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega's improved his striking for sure, no doubt about it, but he's still not anywhere near Frankie Edgar's level, and even then, I feel like Frankie Edgar can land takedowns of his own, and I feel like if he lands the takedowns of his own and plays it smart, I feel like he can avoid the ground game from dominant position. I feel like he can hold this kid down without getting submitted. I feel like he can do that too. So, I like Frankie wherever the fight goes. If Brian Ortega were to get into a dominant position on the ground, I mean, that might be all she wrote. Brian Ortega for sure has a shot to be the first guy to finish Frankie Edgar here, man. But this is too much too soon, not to mention the short notice replacement Brian Ortega is. Frankie Edgar was training for a championship fight here, man. He was training for a 5-round championship fight. Brian Ortega coming in on short notice. I mean, this really has all the recipes to be Brian Ortega's first loss. And honestly, man, I think the blueprint on Brian Ortega is out there. It's just a matter of how much do you trust his opponent. And, I trusted Renato Moicano. I had my money on him, and he was winning, but he made a huge mistake. He had to take his first loss. Can you trust a guy like Cub Swanson who's been submitted 8 times against Brian Ortega? No, that's not why. That's why I did not bet Cub Swanson in that fight, because he has been submitted a million times, and Frankie Edgar has never been submitted. So I can trust Frankie Edgar. I think if you trust anybody in the roster the most, it's a guy like Frankie Edgar to deliver a smart game plan. So I think Frankie Edgar, he's about to take out another up and comer, man. So I'm gonna go Frankie Edgar, 30-27 decision, and what will mostly be probably a striking match on the feet. So moving on to the main event of the evening, we got Chris Cyborg minus 1750 taking on Yana Kunitskaya plus 1125. So yeah, featherweight title fight in the most least cared about division at 145 pounds. What can you say here, man? Yana Kunitskaya, she's okay. I mean, like I said earlier, she's a top 25, top 20, maybe even bantamweight fighter. But I mean, we're talking numbers like a plus 1125 for a reason. I think really maybe her only chance of winning this fight is if she gets it to the ground somehow and submits Chris Cyborg, because Yana Kunitskaya, she submitted Tanya Evinger in their first fight, a legit submission. So I mean, I don't know what there really is to say. It's not going to be pretty on the feet. I mean, it's basically going to look like all of other Cyborg's Invicta fights where it's just not fair, basically. Cyborg smash on the feet, avoid going to the ground. Should be easy rolling for Cyborg. She's minus 1750 for a reason. And yeah, if Yana Kunitskaya pulls off the upset here, you bet your ass it's like the biggest upset in UFC and even MMA history. So no surprises. I'm gonna go at the 17-1 favorite here in Chris Cyborg to defend her title by first round knockout. So yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. I appreciate you coming watching. I apologize for the video cutting out for a second. Like I said, my laptop's giving me all kinds of shit, but thank you for tuning in every week. Gonna get back on track here. Follow me at Twitter, MMAKelton. I appreciate all the supporters, especially the guys that reached out to me after taking this huge loss last week, and that really sucked. But guys, I'm taking this shit seriously now, and I'm about to take over and go on a hot streak. Mark my words. All right. Enjoy the fights this weekend, guys.